It's time for another Dice Tower review with John Richard.
Howdy gamers, greetings from Indianapolis, Indiana, the gaming capital of the world. It's time for another board game review with me, Indiana John. Today we are taking a look at Trajan, which is a game designed by Stefan Feld, and as the box says, it is a game about seizing opportunity and gaining power in the Roman Empire in 110 AD. But let's not fool ourselves. This is a Stefan Feld game, which means it's about getting points and getting a lot of them. And you may notice that this game came out in 2011, and so it's not a brand new game. And it's part of kind of a new facet in my work as a board game reviewer, and that's to kind of revisit some games that aren't the newest, shiniest, hotness that's come out, but maybe some things that have been in my collection for a few years that I think are pretty good games that are worth a second look long after the newness has worn off. So let's take a look at the setup and gameplay of Trajan and see if we can answer that all-important gamer question, is it fun? Yeah, this one's fun. There's an awful lot going on in this game. I'm going to show you the main board in a second, but this is the individual player board, and this is kind of where all of the action selection happens in the game. The object of this game is to get the most points. It has a lot of Roman flavoring to it, but really it's all about getting points. And the way that you're going to select your actions in this game to do things to get points is by using kind of a Mancala mechanic, if you've ever heard of that game before, where when you select an action, one of these 6 here, you're going to pick up all of the tokens that are in a particular bowl, and then you're going to move clockwise around the bowls, dropping one token into each bowl. And then when you get to the very last one where you've dropped your last token, that is the action that you're going to take for this turn. So when you want to select certain actions, you have to figure out a way to end up in that bowl to be able to do that action. In addition to wanting to perform particular actions, you're also wanting to complete these Trajan tiles that are being placed around the outside. You start off with 3 of them on the board, and there's going to be some ways using with the Trajan action actually to get more of those tokens. So in order to complete a Trajan token, what you have to do is, let's use an example here, as I go boom, boom. If I end in a bowl where there's a Trajan tile, and the colors of my tokens match what's on this tile, then I get to pick it up and score it. And that's either going to be worth points, that one's worth 9 points, or might be worth additional actions, might be get some resource cards or some other special tokens, all kinds of cool things like that, and then you'll discard them. So you're trying to select actions on this board using this mechanic and get the Trajan tile scored to get extra stuff. So there are 6 main actions in the game, and let's go over them real quick so you can see all the awesome ways you can get points in Trajan. So here's the very busy board of Trajan that has a whole lot of stuff on it, and let's go over the different actions here. Let's start off with the Trajan action. There's a icon on the board that will match whatever is on your player board to show what the action is. Trajan action is how you get more Trajan tiles. You're pretty much just going to select one of these tiles out of these stacks. There's 6 stacks that are they're all the same as you go through the stacks, and you're going to drop that onto your board. On your player board itself, you have this Trajan marker here, and what you're going to do is take and put your tile that you've selected into that location, and then you're going to slide the Trajan marker around to the next open location, and that's where that thing's going to go. So that is the first action, and the very easy one of how you get Trajan tiles. The Senate action is next, and it's a very straightforward one. It's pretty much just moving up on a track. You take the action, you move up on the track, you get that many points. You can do that several times over the course of a round, and then whoever is the highest on this track after a certain number of rounds is going to get their first pick at these cool bonus tiles, which are going to give you special scoring at the end of the game. That one gives you 9 points if you have a little helmet token. And then the person who's second place gets the other token, but they get it turned over onto the less exciting side where you don't get quite as many points. So that's the race for that. That's how the Senate action works. The shipping action has to do with commodity cards, and there's another way that you can get points in the game. You got this whole deck of commodity cards that have all kinds of different icons on them. You want to collect sets of those, and the shipping action will allow you to take cards either from this pile here or from the face-up discard piles, or you can ship cards by laying them down in front of you and in particular combinations, and then using these ships. So this one will give you points if you have cards that match. So one card that's the same will give you 2. one card that's the same. 2 cards that are the same will give you 6, 3 cards, 3 of a kind will give you 12, 4 of a kind will give you 20, and so forth. These are for cards that aren't the same. These are for pairs of cards. And then after you've used one of these ships, then you're going to actually turn it over, and it's going to be less effective for other players. So whoever gets there first gets the most points. You're going to be trying to collect these cards because also these bonus tokens that I mentioned earlier that you're going to get with the Senate action, those are going to give you points based upon having a certain number of cards of that type in front of you. So it's good to get those cards for scoring purposes. That is the shipping action. This is the building action, or the kind of construction area here, and you can do one of 2 things. You can either take a dude from your personal player board and put him into the construction camp here, or you can move a guy from your construction camp onto one of these locations here. You're going to immediately get points. There's points on those. And then if you're the first one to get a particular tile, it's the first time you've gotten this kind of tile, then you're going to get an additional action too. So more actions, more points. And then the big deal here is that you're trying to collect sets of these that are identical, because if you have a set of 3 of a particular icon, that's going to be worth 10 points at the end of the game. If you have a set of 4, then that's going to be worth 20 points. So that can be a huge swing in points if you get that. So you're going to be placing these on there and then placing them adjacent and gathering up these tiles. More ways to get points using sets of building tiles. That's the building action. And the forum action is another one where you get tiles, so you use your action just to pick up one of these tiles. And these tiles here are for additional action. So you can place these onto your player board, and then the next time, for example, that I would take a Senate action, I could discard this token and take a second Senate action. So it allows you to create combinations by doubling up on actions. This will give you more votes in that Senate race, so that you might be able to win those bonus tiles that you're looking for. And then these things right here, these are 3 resources. And I haven't really talked about this yet, but the way that the game timer works, we'll kind of roll down here and show you, is that as you're taking your actions, you're going to be kind of rolling around this racetrack here. And the number of little tokens that you take out of your bowl and move around, that's going to be the number of spaces that you move on this thing on your turn. Now once it rolls around one time around the track, then you're going to take one of these demand tokens and turn it over, and this is going to represent something that the people of Rome are looking for. So here they want bread. You go around the track again, and then another one of these gets revealed, and then a third time a third one gets revealed. Then you get a 4th time around the track, and then that's the end of a quarter year. And at that point, you're going to basically have to pay up, and you're going to have tokens for all of these items here, or you're going to lose victory points. After you've done that, then that's sort of the end of a quarter year, and you do that 4 times. So a total of 16 times around the track, and that's going to be the total game. So what you're going to want to do with this forum action here is you're going to want to use it to pick up these tokens to be able to turn those in when the time comes. So those demanding Romans that you're trying to serve there or rule over, they're going to want those tokens. So that is the forum action, just picking up tiles. Last but not least, we have the military action at the top of the board here, and this is going to be more ways to pick up points and to pick up tokens. And what you can do with your military action is you can move a legionnaire from your player board onto the legionnaire camp, or you can move your leader, which is this big meeple, you can move him to an adjacent location. If I do that and there's a token there, you get to immediately take the token. Again, there's a bread there that'll help you with those demands. But you don't get the points yet that are on the board. On a later turn, you can then summon one of your legionnaires to come and meet you where your leader is. And then at the point where you do that and you put the little guy down, now you're going to get to score those points immediately. So the leader can kind of move around the board, and he can get pretty far up here. And then it's just a single action to move the little guy all the way up to meet up with the leader to get those points. So the leader gets the tokens, the legionnaires get the points. So that is another way to get points and to get tokens with the military action. So after 4 trips around the track here, that's 4 rounds or a quarter year, you're then going to pay up for these demand tokens, and then you're going to do a little bit of sort of intermediate scoring here. You're going to see who won the Senate race here, and those will go back to the beginning there. You'll replenish tiles here. The building tiles actually don't get replenished. If they come off the board, that's the only tiles that you get the entire time. You'll replenish the ships, and then up in the military area, if you have any areas that don't have a dude or a token there, then you're going to replenish that with a token. So this will continue on for a total of 16 trips around the little racetrack here. You can see there's 3 different racetracks depending on whether you have 2, 3, or 4 players. So that scales pretty nicely. And so then after 16 total rounds there, you'll perform your last quarter year scoring, and then you'll do some final scoring. You'll get some kind of junk drawer points for tiles that you have that you didn't get to complete, your Trajan Tiles, or cards that you have in your hand that you weren't able to redeem, and things like that. Then you'll go over all these bonus tokens that you have in your possession to see which ones you get. We'll get some bonus points for that. Combinations, like I said, of these building tiles. You'll add up all those points together, and then the person with the most points will be the winner of this very interesting and somewhat complex point gathering game of Trajan. Now, Stefan Feld has been the darling of the board game design world for quite a while now and has put out some excellent games. And I have to say that for me, Trajan is my absolute #1 favorite Stefan Feld game. And it really is one of my all-time favorite games. It makes my top 11 games of all time. And I think one of the things that I love about it the most is that it's a game where you can plan a strategy and you can work towards it. And there are things that are going to be challenges along the way, and you have some competition with other players for those resources and tiles and spots on the Senate track and things like that that you're looking for. But you feel every turn like you're making some kind of progress. And if you can't make the most optimal decision, you can make a secondary decision that's still going to be pretty good. And so I think that's the thing that I love about point salad games, as they call it, from Stefan Feld, where you have lots of ways to get points, is the fact that there are lots of ways to get points. And so you feel every turn like you're accomplishing something. And it may not be the most optimal thing, and of course the person who's able to be the most optimal in the game will be the one who usually wins. You still feel like you're doing something. And there's so many games that I play where I feel like I'm just not doing anything. Turn after turn, I'm just struggling along and not able to get anything done. In this game, I just feel every turn like, hey, I got 6 points this turn, or I got 3 points this turn. I feel like I'm doing something. Now that might be kind of a naive way of looking at a game, but for me, someone who I just don't have a real deep mind for long-term strategy, this is a pretty good one for me. And this level of complexity, as you can see from my overview of the rules, there's a lot of rules there and there's a lot of things to keep track of. But I was able to teach this game completely from memory without looking at the rule book, except for some of the scoring things. And if I ever sit down with this, I'm able to teach it very, very quickly. So it has complexity to it, but it's very intuitive, I think, as to what you're able to do on your turn. And the way to get those points, I think, is pretty intuitive. So I just think this is a fine, fine game. I think it's Stefan Feld's crowning achievement, in my opinion. And so I think it's a game that every Feld fan should definitely have in their collection. And I really think anyone who enjoys Euro strategy games should definitely give this one a try. So this game is absolutely fun. It's one of the highest recommendations I can give, and that is Trajan.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.